our work right now on the planet is to bring honoring and sanctity to the invisible just as much as the visible. The invisible results are things like feeling good, things like feeling connected, things like our health, our well-being, a feeling of joy, pleasure.
Embodiment can't be faked. Once you're in an open state where you actually can see through a clear lens, you know, you're not clouded by fear, you're not clouded by the amygdala, you're not clouded by society's news and all the fear-based stuff, and you're just with you. Then you get to decide where you think we actually are.
It is possible to navigate pain with grace.
Energy is information. We're here to experience the full spectrum.
That worthiness is hard for you. There's nothing wrong with you. It is a muscle that we kind of have to learn how to access. You are not disempowered, and you have power in every area of your life all the time.
I believe that chronic illness is an opportunity for us to heal.
Health, it's a choice. Listening to your body if you so choose.
My prayer for the world would be that they would know the infinite love of God.
Aloha and welcome to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast, formerly known as the Embodied Healing Self Podcast, with your host, jenmons. Join me each week for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around awakening to your soul purpose through 5-element well-being. Thank you so much for joining in. Aloha and welcome back to this week's episode of the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast. So I am recording this just a few days before I make my 45th trip around the sun, my 45th birthday. And I thought I would share with you 45 sacred life lessons that I just journaled around for myself in hopes to inspire or just to share with you. So you may remember, I was actually looking back, and I don't believe I've done this since my 42nd birthday. Episode 26, I did 42 life lessons, and so you can go back and listen to those. Some of these are new and different, and, you know, of course, I think all are worth taking a listen to. I'll just begin by sharing a little bit about me, since I don't really do that on any of these podcast episodes. Maybe some things you don't know. I was born September 9th, 1977, which I love numbers and soul contracts and astrology. So 9977, it's a pretty cool number. And born at 11:22 a.m. Lots of double numbers in my birth. I was born in Arizona. And I won't give too much more information away, but basically that all is part of my soul contract, which my soul destiny is an 11-2, one of a spiritual teacher. So for those of you familiar with soul contract, or maybe you've worked with me and had your soul contract done, you can also listen to a podcast. We'll drop it in the show notes around soul contract. But I have a lot of 8s in my soul contract, which is really the vibration of the embodiment of the soul into the physical in this lifetime as a spiritual teacher. So probably why I teach a lot about body and soul wisdom, the embodied healing self, the embodied soul coaching academy. So, you know, lots of embodiment there, which some of those, some of that wisdom comes through in some of my life lessons. My spirit animals are tiger, turtle, and snake. I carry a lot of snake medicine. I have stories of me and snakes from the first one I can remember is when I was 9 years old. In fact, it's kind of funny to look back, but I even had friends in high school who would make fun of me because of my snake stories, because I just would always see snakes, like, everywhere. I still continue to see them. I love them. I have hosted 2 retreats the past couple weekends, and both times saw really big snakes. 4 feet, maybe not really big, but during the weekend, which was just kind of a sign. I also see a lot of hawk, but really tiger and turtle are always there for me. My favorite colors are orange, like a coral orange, probably because I've been really diving deep into the sacral chakra and work around the feminine for the past 5 years. And also blue. I love blue. I've always loved blue. My wedding colors were blue and yellow. So anything that reminds me of the ocean just makes me happy. I love the ocean, of course, surfing, windsurfing, sailing, anything to get wet. I just love the ocean. It's so healing for me. My favorite foods are, I love green matcha, cherries, blueberries, charcuterie boards that my daughter makes, chocolate, lentils. Let's see what else. Yeah, I think that covers like my favorite foods. I also love to juice. And I like macadamia nuts. Those are some of my favorite things. I haven't really eaten red meat in 30 years. That's a whole nother story. I don't know. I feel like my body wants it, but I think I'd have to go into like ceremony and pray over it for days before I could do that. So I'm pretty much a pescatarian. I've been that way almost my whole life. And I'm also an O blood type, and my body needs meat. So that's a conversation for another time. Anyway, it's just one of my things. I love yoga. I love surfing. I love to dance. And in fact, I do it. We do it a lot not a lot, but we welcome it, intuitive movement, in the coaching programs and retreats that I do. It's such a great expression of freedom and embodiment of just being connected to our body. Some of the favorite places I've traveled are New Zealand, the Cave of Mary Magdalene, the island of Tahiti, specifically Moorea, the Exumas. One of my favorite places on earth, Kauai, where my family is from, my husband's family. Those would probably be my favorite places. Also Yellowstone, that was pretty cool. Some places I'd like to go, Bali, Peru, which both those retreats were canceled during the pandemic, so I have every intention to bring those retreats back, as well as the retreat where we visit the Cave of Mary Magdalene in France. Those were supposed to happen during the pandemic, so I will be bringing those back. Bali and Iceland is on my list, and also the Galapagos. So if you've been, send me a message, because I want to know more. I don't know that many people that have been to the Galapagos. What makes me happy? Food. It's a love language all in its own, in my opinion. It's one of my favorite ways to receive. I love to make food as well, but I really love to receive when other people make food. It's like it's a love language. Travel. I love travel. Did a homeschool travel year with my kids in 2015. And now they're like very worldly and like they just love to travel. Like my older daughter now lives in Hawaii and wants to go to college in Australia. She's finishing high school in Hawaii. And I love empowering women and coaching women and speaking to women and leading retreats with women and teaching and educating women. My whole life story is one of really denying the feminine aspects within myself, always wanting to, always playing, being a female on boys' sports teams, going to pretty much an all-male military academy, having an engineering degree, just really finding myself in very, very male-dominated environments, and then becoming the mother of 2 daughters and just rediscovering and revealing all the aspects of the feminine that I had been denying my whole life, like creativity and intuition and nurturing and the whole thing. And when women come together, it's magical. Of course, there's the other side of it where, they gossip and betray and do the whole thing. I've been on the other side of that as well. But if you get yourself in the right place, women are amazing. Just amazing. And there's just, there's so many ways that we come together and support one another. It blows my mind. Honestly, there's not that available for boys and men. There's so many beautiful programs in place to support girls and women doing their thing. And I think it's just super awesome. It makes me super happy. some of the most painful experiences I've had in my life, I guess I could say. I had some kind of a couple of challenging childhood experiences, but for the most part, my childhood was actually pretty good. And I would say, going to a military academy in college was really, really challenging. There was 8% women, was the only woman on ships most of the time, out in the middle of the ocean for 30 days. I was like the only woman that they would see. And so that was really, really challenging as a 18, 19, 20-year-old girl. And just that whole experience was really kind of like where I completely lost myself and then put me on the path to find myself. The birth experience of my first daughter was really challenging because most of you can relate to this. We have a birth plan and it doesn't go that way, but it was life-threatening for me. I had pregnancy-induced liver failure, so that was challenging, but also one of the best gifts in my entire life because I completely shifted and altered course. So that was pretty challenging. And then a second health crisis, which came a couple years later. The loss of my brother-in-law was really painful, and just the way that happened, it was also a beautiful blessing. And in the same year, being removed from our house from a hurricane was pretty challenging. And then also the betrayal of, I guess, someone who called me her best friend and went into business partnership and ended up in legal case. It didn't go anywhere. She was wrong and didn't win, but it was just really painful to feel that betrayal. And to see myself, the people pleaser in me, seeking and being taken advantage of, although thinking and believing that I showed up with a lot of courage on the outside. So just really recognizing, the places where there was still work to do. So I'm super grateful for all of the challenging things that I've experienced in my life, but when you go through your bucket list of things that you've experienced, everybody has their own and they're all just really different. So those are a couple of mine. Okay, so I want to share my birthday rituals with you. A couple of my birthday rituals. Well, I live in Florida, and every year there's always amazing waves. There's going to be great waves this year too. I'm so excited. September is just a really great month for groundswell. We get a lot of tropical storms, and the water is super warm, so I'll definitely go surfing. We'll definitely go swimming in the ocean at night and have a little mermaid swim. This year it's actually going to be on the full moon, the harvest moon. It's going to be amazing. So I'm excited about that. I journal, which I pretty much do every day. But I read a letter to myself, which I really love. And I read the letter that I wrote to myself on my birthday the year before. And then I rewrite another letter, really just reflecting on how the year went, how I've grown, what I overcame, what I was grateful for, and the whole thing. And it's just a really beautiful practice. I also write letters to my children on their birthdays and plan to give them all of their letters on their 18th birthday. So I've been writing letters for years, but I haven't given them to them yet. And it's just a beautiful way to really reflect on their growth during their life. The best gift in this is that when you read the letter, it's just so tender and awesome, because you're usually doing way better than you think you are. Even when you go through challenging things, you realize that you overcame those things and it's going to be okay. So that's what I love about that. Okay, so I took a few moments before this to write down things that were just coming through for me that I wanted to share in 45 Sacred Life Lessons. Some of these you've probably heard before. Maybe some of them, a couple of them I've probably quoted on my Instagram page or social media. And some of them you probably resonate with, and maybe some of them are new to you. So here we go. So number 1, first and foremost, God is where everything begins. Capital G. God, grace, whatever you want to call it. Grace to me is the feminine energy of God. And some people call it source, universe, Doesn't really matter. To me, it's the same. And to most people, it's the same as well. But without that creative life force energy, there is nothing. So that's where everything begins and where everything ends. And so with every intention that we seek or decision that we make or I check in first. You know what? The most important thing I think we can do is just live in our own expression of grace, our own expression of God. Number 2, abundance and wealth are a measure in the quality of the moments, not in things. So this would especially be true for me because my love language is quality time. But when you look around at the people in your life, you've probably noticed that you have noticed people that don't have a lot of physical things, but they have a lot of fulfillment and abundance in their lives. And then you've probably noticed that people where nothing is ever enough, no matter how much money they make, no matter how awesome their husband or wife is, no matter what, like, it's not enough and they don't celebrate it in that moment. And so those people will never truly know abundance, the feeling of abundance and wealth and fulfillment, which is kind of really that feeling of like my cup is full, but it's not over spilling. It's a really good feeling. And so the quality of the moments, because the quality of the moments are what creates our life story. And our life story is, that the sacred legacy that we leave behind when we leave this body during this time. Number 3, relax into the truth of who you are. Yeah, relax. You're already everything you need to be in this moment. You may notice that you want to learn and grow in new ways, and that's okay as long as you're doing it without expectation or attachment. Relax and just receive. Receive the truth of who you are. Accept the truth of who you are in all the ways you've probably felt and held on to shame, guilt, anger, resentment, intensity, fierceness. And you've probably also experienced joy and passion and love and abundance and nourishment and all the good things, because we are all the things. So no need to judge and shame yourself for experiences or past mistakes. I mean, everybody's perfectly imperfect. And for the most part, what I notice is that we are so hard on ourselves. We get in our own way. We're trying to be perfect. We're looking for external validation, and all the while forgetting who we actually really are. And who are we doing it for anyways? We shouldn't be doing anything like that for anybody else's permission or approval except for our own. So relax into the truth of who you are, because if you slow down and relax, you're going to remember who you are. It's actually that easy. So stop overscheduling and overdoing and just relax. It's going to be okay. Number 4, as you notice your thoughts, move into the body. This is such a great practice. It's a somatic way of coaching, which is really my style of coaching, because our thoughts and our emotions can be overwhelming and we can get trapped in the story, and that can become a downward spiral. So whenever you find yourself in those moments, pause, take a deep breath, and move into the body. Just find a place that feels good, or bring your awareness to your breath. That breath is a new beginning. In that moment, a new beginning. Every breath is a new beginning. So when you notice thoughts, move into the body. Number 5, 5-element wealth. You hear me talk about this. It's something that I teach. It is living resourced, being resourced on the path of prosperity. So what is 5-element wealth? It's all the things that matter for balanced well-being. Your mindset is one part of that, having a healthy mindset. The second part is living and understanding emotional empowerment, transmuting the fears and the shadows and the old stories into positive reinforcement, into aligned action, into your gifts. So, first is mindset, second is emotional empowerment, third is body wisdom. Body wisdom is the willingness and acknowledgement that your body is sacred. It's here to hold your soul, your spirit. It's the vessel or container that holds that, and it deserves to be treated well. So take care of your body. Listen to it. When we don't listen to it, we often get sick or we get injured or dis-ease. If we're listening and connected to our body, we feed it well. We nourish it when it needs to be nourished. We hydrate. We don't overwork out and push ourselves to the point of injury. This is like such a wonderful gift. If you learn to listen to your body will reward you and thank you, and you will live in balanced health and resiliency. And it's a beautiful gift, so you're welcome. And number 4 is spiritual growth. So if we have like the 5 elements of wealth, one of my friends, Josh Trent of Wellness and Wisdom, formerly known as Wellness Force, talks about the Pentagon of Wellness, what I call the 5 elements of wealth, WELLTH, or well-being, is the mindset, the emotional empowerment, the body peace, and then spiritual growth. Because we are hardwired to evolve spiritually. Every conscious person is seeking at some point in their life that spiritual growth. And number 5, financial freedom and prosperity is also part of our well-being, because it's about receiving, it's about owning our worth and receiving, and also the ability to amplify our voice and values out into the world. It's an exchange of giving and receiving, and it allows us to put our energy and intention into what matters most. And the more conscious people doing that, then the more the vibration and the level of consciousness rises, because the things that we're investing in are higher vibration programs and people and non-for-profits and events, and it just, the whole thing, it's like a ripple effect. It just continues to radiate out. And so money is a currency. It's an energy that flows through people, just like food is an energy that flows through us. Emotions, emotion, energy, and motion is an energy that flows through us. Our connection to the divine is an energy that flows through us. So is money. So it's all important. So 5-element wealth. The physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, and the financial are the 5 pieces to that. It's in the program that I teach through the 6-month North Star Collective. If you're interested in learning more, we'll put that link in the show notes. Number 6, if you want to know if you're living in alignment with your values, go check your calendar and your bank statement. Because time and money will show us where we're truly putting our values. If you say you value health and nutrition, well, I hope to look at your calendar and see that you have time cut out for working out or yoga or mindfulness or doctor appointments, and that on your credit card statement you're shopping at health food stores and buying organic foods or farmers markets versus McDonald's. So if you really want to check yourself, if you say things are important to you, look at your calendar and where you're putting your money. Your time and your money say everything about what's important to you. If you say you value personal growth, spiritual growth, are you invested in that? Are you buying books, or are you invested in a coach? If you say that you value travel, are you giving yourself permission to travel? Maybe even if it's just locally. If you say you value joy, do you make time for the things that you enjoy the most? Do you put your financial resources in investing in things that bring you joy? Number 7, courage is living your highest intention without attachment. So the key word here is without attachment. It takes a lot of courage to say, this is what I'm here to do. This is who I am here to be. This is how I want to live. This is how I want to show up. God, grace, I give this up to you. I surrender. I give this to you. And I release attachment to whatever that means. That takes a lot of courage. It takes the willingness to be humble, the willingness to fail, to be wrong, to be beat down, to feel unsupported. It takes the whole thing. That is true courage, to really claim your soul truth, to be seen in it, and then to release the attachment. It's very, very empowering. Number 8, there are many amazing things that will not happen if you don't say yes. I don't think I need to explain that one. I just witness time and time again people getting in their own way about what's not working for something to happen that they've wanted to do for so long. They've wanted to buy that adventure van, or take that trip to Italy, or invest in that program, or write that book. Well, there are many amazing things that will not happen if you don't say yes to them. So many times people want to do things and they just make excuses year after year after year after year, and then maybe one day it's available, maybe it's not, and maybe it happens and maybe it never happens because you missed the chance or you didn't say yes. So just sit with that one for a moment. Number 9, never trust or believe in someone else more than yourself. So learning how to trust your intuition is a wonderful gift. Trust is the gateway to intuition. And this was a hard lesson that I had to learn. I trusted in a friend who we became business partners, and, she just totally took advantage of me because of some wounding that I was working around. And that was what I learned, is never to trust in anyone more than I did myself, because I was not listening to my intuition the whole time. Like, I knew there were messages like something isn't right about this, and I just kept ignoring it because I really wanted to see what I wanted to see in her. I didn't want to see what my intuition was telling me, which was that she was an untrustworthy person. So listen to your intuition, trust yourself, know yourself. You know your body. You know yourself. It's a wonderful gift to give yourself. I remember after my first daughter was born, I had a very hard time finding a doctor I had moved that would support me in a second pregnancy, because I had such a high-risk pregnancy. And there's my husband calling me. And I went to about 10 different doctors, and I finally went to the head of the department for high-risk pregnancy at the University of Florida where I live, and he just said, no one should ever tell you can't have kids. You know your body. And many doctors before that told me that I was crazy to think that I could have kids again. Just, knowing and trusting in yourself is super important. Number 10, everything is energy. The food we eat, money, co-creations, relationships, health, everything is energy. Everything is a co-creation. That's how things naturally live and thrive out in nature. Water is energy, fire is energy, thoughts are energy, emotions are energy, and relationships are energy. It's all energy. Albert Einstein said it. You can feel it. Once you really start to notice and break down things in your life and simplify them, you really start to just notice everything is just energy, and that's just what it is. Different forms of energy, different vibrations, different frequencies. And it really actually simplifies the world, because everything just becomes a vibration or a color, and there are high vibrations and low vibrations, and high frequencies and low frequencies, and you start to tune into what's serving you and what's not. Number 11, love always wins. I think we can just leave that one at that. Love will always win. Light will always win. Darkness and evil have no power over goodness. It never does. It's been my experience over and over and over again in my life. And, I think in those moments where I was really being tested, I just leaned into trust and just knowing that love and a pure heart and being a good person, it always wins. And I do believe that, and I will always believe that, because I believe that's what we are created to do. Number 12, energy management over time management. We've been talking about time management for centuries. That's a very masculine way of living. I love to teach energy management, which is cyclical management. It's aligned to Mother Earth. We have the new moon cycles, we have seasonal cycles, and it's really important to tap in and just tune into what are the periods of the month and the day where my energy is high, when is it low? Am I stepping into something that is serving me, or is this not serving me? If it's not, it's a clear no, because that would be an energy drain. Is this person aligned with my values in this friendship? Is this an equal exchange of energy? Because if it's not, that's a clear no. Is this job aligned with my values? Am I being received here? Am I over giving? All of those things within energy management will completely and radically change your life when you choose to live in that way over time management, where you find yourself in overwhelm, perfectionism, and the excuses of, I just don't have the time. Because guess what? We all have the same 24 hours in the day, 365 and a fourth days in the year. Is that what it is? I think so. So if we all have the same amount of time. It's how you choose to use your time that's the secret to energy management. Number 13, stay the course by taking action on who you're becoming versus who you've been. So often people make decisions based on who they've been and not who they're becoming. And when we start to make decisions on who we're becoming, we really start to reveal and live our truth. Because the past is the past, but we get to choose this present moment to decide on the next step, which gets us closer to who we are becoming. Number 14, instead of being attached to who you've been, be curious about who you're becoming. I guess those are kind of the same. Maybe we can come up with an extra one. Number 15, the embodiment. Okay, this is a big one, because I hear people in spiritual communities talking about ascension and 5D, and no. In my opinion, no. Been there, done that. The real gift of this human experience is the embodiment of our soul on this planet. We cannot put into action and contribute to the greater good of this planet unless we are in our bodies doing the work. So there's a lot of spiritual narcissism and wounding in spiritual communities that are all talking all about ascension and just, how painful it is to be human. And I totally get all that. I've been there. I felt that. And however, I've also heard and know, in my opinion, to be true, that we are here to embody. We are here to embody our soul. That's why we're here, because I've had an out-of-body experience. So you can't be here without the body. So you can't be in this experience without the body. I mean, sure, there are energies coexisting at the same time, but to really put into action the way that we are meant to do in this life is all about embodiment. Number 16, intuition is more powerful than intellect. We are collectively moving in that direction where people realize that we are all intuitive. It's the language of energy, and it's more powerful than intellect and what you learn in school, because there's the inner knowing, which is more than the knowledge. Number 17, meditation is presence. It's just being present in that moment. It can be walking your dog. It can be sitting in stillness. It can be a guided meditation. It can be knitting. It can be baking. Meditation is simply a practice and commitment to presence. Number 18, choose alignment over hustle every day. It will bring you blessings of abundance in more ways than you can imagine. So choosing alignment over hustle. I feel like many of you are breaking that paradigm. I've been talking about it on this podcast for years because I tend to attract those types of women because they're former versions of me. The overachiever, the perfectionist, the woman who lives in overwhelm and never feels like she's enough. Part of what is leading you to feel that way in your life is because you're still trying to hustle and prove yourself. Once you decide that you are done with that and you give yourself permission to align to the things that are, and to only the things that are in alignment with your values, the things that you say you want in your life, then things start to change the way that you want them to, but through allowing and being versus doing. So alignment is about being and allowing, and hustling is about doing. And it's huge once you can totally embody that. Number 19, instead of worrying about what could go wrong, be curious and excited about what might go right. Number 20, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned to your healthy self, miracles begin to happen. So the healthy self, not the survivor, not the old stories, not the limiting beliefs, but the truth, your healthy self. Thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned, miracles begin to happen. Number 21, manifesting. Oh, this is one of my favorites, because manifesting is a word that has been overused, especially in spiritual communities, and misunderstood. There's actually a lot of trauma around this from spiritual coaches. Manifesting is it's not magic. First of all, you don't just like manifest by saying, "Oh, I want this in my life," and then and so it is. No, that's part of it. Ask and you shall receive. But manifestation is the intention and alignment of your values, owning your worth, and then taking aligned action. So it's knowing your worth and aligning your values to actions. So there is a role that you play in that. You take the aligned action and then you open up to receive. Number 22, conscious investment will create a shift in your life. Spending unconsciously will create a void. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, it's so true. Because it's energy and it's intention, and money is a currency where you put your values, and it says a lot about who you are. Where you choose to invest in your life says a lot about who you are. Where you choose to invest your money and your time, it says a lot about who you are. So conscious investment is where the shift begins versus spending unconsciously. See, there's a shift there. There's conscious investment or spending unconsciously. So no matter what it is, like it's being intentional with how you exchange financial resources, because your values are in that exchange. And so if you invest in a holistic healer or a massage or a coach, being super intentional about that exchange or that healthy food. Number 23, soul reincarnation is real. You can go back to my episode 26 and listen to my 42 lessons. I talk a little bit about how I know that to be true. You just can't make this stuff up, especially when your kids are involved and they say things to you and they've never even heard it before. They just validate your past life regressions and things like that. I've also had a out-of-body experience, so I know that we are more than just this physical form. And yeah, it's soul reincarnation is a thing because energy is not created or destroyed. So your soul consciousness is an energy that is not created or destroyed. It just transforms. Number 24, lack of self-love and self-compassion lead to unbalanced and codependent relationships. Yep, that's a good one. Ladies, I know you hear me. A lack of self-love and a lack of self-compassion lead to unbalanced and codependent relationships. Things like people-pleasing or being too controlling or too needy. So we'll just leave that one there. There are a couple episodes on that, specifically around people-pleasing and empaths, if you're looking for more support on that. Number 25, be mindful of who you let into your energetic space. It's very intimate. It probably, if I could go back and do this one over again, I would. I've definitely let some people into my energetic space that were not pure energy. And, at the same time, like when I was going through shaman training, I pulled myself out of it because I was like, who am I to be in the shadow, in people's underworld, like their shadow stuff. Shadow work is what shamanism is mostly about, helping people transmute that and to heal. And so I didn't finish the training because it didn't feel aligned for me personally. So, just be really mindful and careful who you let into that space, whether it's Reiki or a psychic, because that person better be committed to their self-work, because if they're not, all of their stuff is going to come through in their session with you, and you do not want to take that on. You do not want to take that on. So, it's a thing. It's real. Be very, very mindful. Number 26, busyness keeps you distracted and disconnected from the very thing you're seeking in your life. It's a great distraction, isn't it? You want connection with your husband. You want more time for health and well-being. You want to create a vision and live your dream life, but you're too busy. You want self-care. You want to go to a retreat, but I just don't have time. I'm too busy. You want to invest in that coach. This is one that I get sometimes, and I love it. The person who tells me they're busy and their life's a shit show, like they're the person that probably needs the coaching or the retreat the most. So busyness, it's a shadow, it's a survivor strategy. Number 27, vulnerability is the gateway to our potential. I think Brene Brown said that. I believe it to be true. I've seen it over and over again because, hey, what's the worst that can happen? You let it go, and then it's just that whole fear of like the worst that could happen is holding most of us back. And then once you release it, there's freedom. Number 28, releasing anger, resentment, and shame creates space for creativity and joy. A lot of the women I work with hold on to a lot of resentment, anger, and shame, and I did too myself for a very long time. And number one, it can create a lot of disorganization and dis-ease and discomfort in the physical body, especially the liver, the gallbladder. Well, anger and resentment, shame is usually in the sacral. And when they release that, it all of a sudden they become super creative. I know that's what happened with me, and as I stepped into being an entrepreneur and owning my own business like 12 years ago. And as I continued to do more of the work, just more creativity, more abundance, and more joy would flow through there, because that's all sacral chakra work. So it's pretty fun actually to get to that place where you're not blocked anymore and things are just flowing through you, because really divine love, divine energy can just flow through you because you're open to receiving it and you're grounded in the earth. Number 29, we are moving collectively into feminine energy of the sacral chakra. We're receiving is intimacy, financial wealth, and nourished well-being as the foundation for the evolution of our soul. So yes, that's what I'm saying is we are collectively moving into the sacral chakra. A lot of orange, a lot of blue, which is expression, the expression of our voice, the amplification of our voice, which can either be speaking your truth or using financial resources or time resources to amplify your values out into the world. This orange and blue are super important. The orange is the sacral feminine energy of joy and creativity, intimacy, and wealth. And when we are able to properly transmute that, it transmutes up into the throat chakra, and it goes out, and then it goes out into the world to add to the collective consciousness of our evolution. Yeah, that's a good one. 30, when we are present and in gratitude, our life is full and we stop chasing validation or our worthiness. How often are we seeking validation for our own self-worth? If you find yourself doing that, stop, take a breath, and become present, and find something to be grateful for. And you'll notice that in that moment, you feel full. You are fulfilled. Number 31, the top 5 limiting beliefs that I notice are: 1, we believe we're not enough, we're not good enough, we're not lovable, or we're only lovable when, we're not safe, we feel hopeless, or we don't feel seen and heard. So those are the ones that are usually keeping us from creating the life that we want. And of course, those are subconscious. I did a podcast on that as well. The podcast on the top 5 limiting beliefs, so we'll drop that link in the show notes as well. Number 32, people can only meet you where they are. So find that balance between commitment and surrender. Or I guess commitment and acceptance, you could say. So in every relationship that is painfully hurting us, if we want to be real about it, if we step back and take a look, The painful part is our attachment to the way that we wish things were. And oftentimes we're creating this idea that something is painful because of what we witness somebody else doing, or maybe the way that they're hurting us, because we're hoping that they'll change. And that is the deeper pain, is not being able to accept things the way they are. So when you choose to accept things the way they are, then that doesn't mean that you approve of behaviors. It just means that you accept things as they are in the moment. So there's a balance there. Number 33, many of us are seeking the feeling of freedom and liberation. Sovereignty is freedom. That is the ownership of your truth, your beliefs, your values, and your gifts. Your body, whatever you want to call that. Sovereignty is the authority, self-authority over your own self. When it comes to health freedom, school freedom, choices, the food that you eat, your beliefs, whatever that is, it's a deep knowing, but without attachment. No attachment to being validated. It's just a knowing. You don't have anything to prove to anybody. It's a really good feeling. Number 34, prosperity and abundance are our birthright. I truly believe that everything in nature just grows and thrives without us. Nothing even the desert. I mean, things are still growing, but no plants. Everything on this planet would be more prosperous and abundant without humans. Doesn't need us at all. It's just naturally thriving. And so we were born to manifest our own prosperity and abundance through health, trusting our bodies, through financial freedom and wealth, and also in love and relationships. Number 35, we all have a unique energy signature that creates our soul signature. And this is something I've been teaching a couple years. I haven't been talking about it too much recently because I don't do as much energy work as I used to. I used to do a lot of soul contract and divine healing and a lot of energy work. And remember what I said, be careful who you let into your energy space. I promise you that I spend a lot of time preparing the space before I do those sessions, which is why I don't do them anymore, because it's a healthy boundary for me. I'm not willing to do that as much for other people. I will only do it for people that I have a relationship with, who I have coached and who I know, because it's a very sacred space to be in. And so we have a unique energy signature that we're born with. It's the vibration that our soul came into this body and this earth at the time of and place of our birth, and all of the vibration that was happening in the moment that creates our soul signature. These are my words. I made these words up. But soul signature is basically the frequency of your soul that you agree to live in at the time of your birth. And what happens is, as we go through life, we lose that soul signature. We become out of alignment with the original soul signature of our higher self because we've been wounded, we've been abandoned, we've been betrayed, we've been hurt. We make poor decisions, we make bad choices. Some people self-sabotage with drugs or unhealthy foods or whatever. And so our whole life, what we try to do towards the end of our life, or whenever we step into our wisdom, which for some people happens at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, some people never really happens, but is to realign our soul with that original energy signature. So if we're speaking in terms of energy, that is what we're here to do through nutrition, through emotional healing, through financial receiving and abundance, through creating positive thoughts, through connections and relationships. Okay. Good stuff. I know. Some of you are probably like, what is she talking about? I have podcasts on those as well. If you're a total energy geek like me, just let's get on the phone, because I love to have those conversations with people. Number 36, the real healing is in the acceptance of all that we are. At the end of every program, retreat, the whole thing, one thing that reigns true for everyone in the end of their experience is how much happier they feel in the acceptance of who they are. Number 37, top 5 regrets that people say. They wish they had the courage to live their true self. They wish they were happier. They wish they connected more with loved ones. They wish they had more time for fun and that they traveled more. So if you are still living in the I want to, I wish, let's transmute that into I will, I am, and start doing the things you say you want to do. That's the beautiful thing about coaches is when you say you have a dream or a vision, we hold that for you until you step into it. And then you feel really good about yourself because you're no longer living that life of showing up to that job that you hate, staying in that unhealthy marriage, sabotaging yourself with unhealthy foods, holding back when it comes to taking that trip or doing the things you want to do, because that's just not what coaches do. They empower you to step into that vision that you have. They hold that for you until you're ready to receive it. Number 38, abundance and prosperity and wealth are about receiving. I think we spoke about that plenty, but it's really about receiving. It's like energetically opening up to receive the abundance of life. Number 39, wisdom is more than knowledge. So kind of like intuition is more than intellect. Wisdom is more than knowledge. You can have all the degrees and certifications and letters behind your name you want. They don't. That's great. That's, you can earn respect for that, but nothing's more powerful than wisdom. Number 40, if you don't want to burn out, stop living like you're on fire. I'm just laughing because, this is one that I'm continuing to be present to because it's really fun to, just to be passionate. Fire is passion, and anger is passion misdirected. So all my pitas, vata, pita, ayurvedic, you feel me here. But if you don't want to get burned out, stop living like you're on fire. You've got to find the balance between surrender and commitment, between passion and surrender. Number 41, the unexpected challenges in our lives are not here to punish us. They are here to help us to evolve and grow. I think on some subconscious level, we all know that that's true. It's just hard to believe it in the moments that feel difficult. Number 42, the way to break scarcity mindset is by taking a risk and choosing the opposite, which is trust. So the opposite of scarcity is trust. The opposite of scarcity is abundance. The opposite of scarcity is prosperity. It's an energy. There's the have and the have-nots. You either believe everything is possible or you believe nothing is possible. And the only way to break that pattern, because that's a really tough one to break, that a lot of people are conditioned to in a very young age, especially generationally, if you're in your 40s, 50s, and above, because we had grandparents that were in the Depression, and then we had the baby boomers, and then we're the kids of those people. So it's kind of been a generational karmic thing. But the only way to break that is to take a risk and trust. Invest in that thing you're afraid to invest in, time or money, whatever that is. But that's one way to break it. Number 43, when we stay in self-doubt, we make it about us. And when we take action through self-doubt, we make it about something bigger than us, aka the big G-O-D. You're just standing in your own way. When we stay in self-doubt, we make it about us and our stories and why things won't work. And when we take action through self-doubt, that means we trust, and trust is divine energy. It's all about God. It's all about surrender. And this is the secret to life, kiddos. It's literally like a secret to blessings. Number 44, the body is the container for our soul and our truth. That is, you hear me talk about embodied soul, the embodiment of our soul signature, our divine truth. That's what we're here to do. And the body's the container for it, so take care of it, feed it well, rest, hydrate, open to receive, and show love to yourself. Number 45, this will be the final one. Align your words, choices, beliefs, and experiences to your values, goals, and dreams, and watch the miracles unfold. This would be energy management. This would be alignment. This would be trust. This would be prosperity. All the things we talked about. Align your words, choices, beliefs, and experiences to your goals, values, and dreams, and watch the miracles unfold. In other words, show up in the way you want to. Say what you mean. Do what you mean. Embody and live your truth. Don't just say it. But don't say things you don't mean. Right? Be mindful of the words you use to yourself, because those become truths. So if you want something to change, then speak differently. Or choose differently. Align differently. Surround yourself with different people. Surround yourself with the people who are living in alignment to the way you want to live. This is the power in in groups. When I host group coaching and retreats, this is the beauty in this. So align yourself to experiences that align to who you want to become. That's probably one of the best gifts you can give yourself. There we go, 45. As I turned 45, you'll probably be listening to this after my 45th birthday. Thank you so much for allowing me to share those with you. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you back again next week. Aloha.
The content of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and inform you of pathways to an embodied healing self. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice from your medical doctor, therapist, registered dietitian, or nutritionist for any questions you may have regarding your diagnosis or condition.
Hello, friends, and thank you so much for joining again each week on the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast, formerly the Embodied Healing Self Podcast. I am so deeply honored to share this space with you every week. I know that there are many other podcasts that you could be tuning into, and our community is expanding and growing more with each new episode. I'd like to invite you to come on over to jenmons.com/tribe and receive some of the wonderful gifts that we have for you. A meditation bundle, energetic alignment, 5-element wealth, prosperity consciousness. We have a ton of different gifts available for you to enjoy. Now, we have one small favor to ask. In order for this podcast to get into the hearts and souls of like and light-minded people, we need your support. We would love your review and would love it if you'd head on over to jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review or leave one on iTunes so that we can continue to share the love beyond out into the world. Thank you so much again for joining in. We'll see you next week.